Hello Drummers Review and welcome to a very special episode of the UK Drum Show official podcast with me, Ollie Winiberg. I am joined by the insanely talented Gavin Harrison. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Good to meet you.
You too. Thank you for welcoming me to your humble abode. I'll try not to trash the place, obviously. Gavin, where do I even start? Let's go through a few things. Firstly, you're going to be playing the UK Drum Show on Saturday, the 18th of October at the ACC Liverpool. And to remind you of your own achievements and to give some background to everyone watching this at home, you've won the Modern Drummer Readers Poll for Best Progressive Drummer of the Year consecutively from 2007 to 2010. Then again in 2016, 2019, Prog magazine voted you the best drummer for nine times between 2011 and 2024. In 2022, Rolling Stone rated you as the third best drummer in 25 years, arguably best known for being the drummer for Porcupine Tree and Pineapple Thief. And welcome, as I said, to this very special episode of the UK Drum Show official podcast.
Right. You've been on Wikipedia, have
you? I researched, Gavin.
Oh, that's it.
I was wondering if you and I could break the ice by playing a little game called This or That.
Okay.
Where basically you just have to choose one of the two things that you prefer without giving an explanation.
Oh, all right.
So, for example, the first question would be, which to you has got the most iconic drum intro? Rosanna by Toto or Rock and Roll by Led Zeppelin?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I'd have to go with Rosanna.
Yeah, I get that. Okay, do you prefer streaming your music or do you still like the physical release?
The physical release.
Okay. More cymbals on a kit or more toms? If you had to choose between the two, which would you go for? More cymbals or more toms?
I don't know why I'd have to choose. Well, I mean... Ew.
Which can you express yourself more on, do you think? It's a hard one, isn't it? It's a tough one.
Well, more drums, I guess.
Okay, interesting. Do you prefer playing an indoor venue or being part of a festival lineup?
Oh, indoor venue.
Okay. And the final question of this game, Dead Wing or Fear of a Blank Planet? Which of those do you prefer?
I do have a soft place in my heart for Dead Wing. They're both pretty good. I know people rate Fear of a Blank Planet a lot, but yeah, I like the songs on Dead Wing.
Okay, yeah, me too. it's a great, both are great albums. You have played all over the world. You've played with some huge names in music. Since the beginning of your career, what do you think has been the biggest Spinal Tap moment of your entire career? What has happened where you've thought this is something that could end up in the sequel to Spinal Tap?
I remember I thought about this the other day. In 1984, I joined a guitarist in Watford and a bass player from Ware in Hertfordshire. We had a band called the Memory Men.
Okay.
And one of the gigs we did was a lunchtime gig organised by the bass player who lived in Ware in a disco. It was a lunchtime gig in a disco, and two people came. One of them was the girlfriend of the keyboard player who left, and the other person was completely drunk and kept swearing and shouting at us, play some effing Beatles, play some effing Beatles. And it later turned out that the bass player had sold him a bicycle. So we did play our entire rehearsed 1 hour set to a drunk guy who just kept shouting, play some effing Beatles. And we didn't know any Beatles, so he was pretty disappointed.
That is actually quite cool. That's a very cool story. Take me. I mean, that's obviously an amazing moment that is clearly going to be sort of etched in your memories forever. But one of the other things that might be with you forever, I'm sure, would be your first memory of the drums. Are you able to take me back, Gavin, to when this whole journey and obsession with the drums started for you?
I don't know my earliest memory of the drums. My dad was a professional musician, so he would have musicians come around the house, and there was always a lot of enthusiasm about music. And, you know, initially I started dancing I went to dance school, which I didn't get on with. And then myself, when I was about 5 or 6, tried to play the trumpet.
Right.
Because my dad was a trumpet player.
Yeah.
And my 2 brothers tried to play as well. I was probably the worst of the 3 at playing the trumpet. I loved music and I really wanted to be part of it, but I couldn't get on with the trumpet. And so the drums felt very natural because I was coordinated, you know, I had good coordination. And a friend of my dad's came round, he was called Freddie Adamson. He used to be the drummer of Bruce Forsyth.
Right, okay.
And he gave me probably my first pair of sticks. Now, my dad could play a little bit of drums too. And one of my very earliest memories is my dad used to put on jazz albums. Then he'd get a magazine that had any magazine that had a slightly sort of matte finish to it.
Yeah.
And he'd play brushes along with it.
Okay.
Just play time with it. And I used to sit there fascinated thinking, oh, that's great. I want to do that. So sometimes we would sit and play I mean, it couldn't be lower volume than that, could it?
Yes.
It was just the joy of playing along and sort of feeling like you were part of the music.
And that then kind of, from that moment, those sticks kind of entered your hands. Was there that almost moment of euphoria where you realised this is it for me, this is what I want to do?
Yeah, it tickled my brain. I've got a more kind of, scientific, mathematical brain, rather than a kind of crazy, wild, chaos creative brain. That's just everything's the big mess. And I think I like to organise things. And I guess that had, it lined up nicely with the way that I thought about music and rhythm and dance as I was dancing at that age. And it all fit together I kind of organised it in my head like that.
Okay, that's interesting. So from that moment to where we are now, touring the world.
A few years later.
just a couple. To, where you are now, you're touring the world with all these bands, all these musicians, and obviously you're going to be playing on the main stage of the UK Drum Show 2025, which is incredibly exciting for us, and I hope obviously for you as well. Do you ever get nervous of drum clinics, or do you kind of just treat them like a gig? Because there's more focus on the drummer during a clinic or something like that.
Yeah, I don't get nervous. I don't sort of stand in the wings with butterflies in the stomach thing. I guess I've done it long enough. I'm sure there were years when I was like that. I mean, it's more stressful because you're on stage on your own normally on a drum clinic. And the audience tends to be mostly drummers.
Yes. So
they are kind of checking you out. You are aware of that. And if it's being filmed as well, then there's even more pressure. Yes. But you've got to get used to the pressure. I think every major break I ever had in the music business was under massive pressure. Yeah. I mean, I can remember the very first night I ever worked with Lisa Stansfield was a live TV show.
Right.
It was like a 90-minute live video thing. That was like, oh God, this is my first ever show with her. At least, you want to sort of do 10 or 20 shows before you get into it. But I realised at a point in my career, then it's going to always be like that.
Okay.
If you're going to get a break, it's probably going to be under a lot of pressure.
So it's obviously it's an auditorium, as you say. It's full of thousands of drummers that are going to be, fixed on you. But I guess, as you say, you've done it a lot, you've toured a lot, you're used to the pressure, and you're somebody that handles things perhaps better under pressure.
Well, maybe not better, but I'm just used to it.
Okay.
I mean, the Modern Drummer Festival I did in 2008, that was a lot of pressure. The Dave Letterman show, that was a lot of pressure. I think you just have to reason with yourself that you've done this all your life. You pull yourself out of any nosedive and you've never hit a cliff yet.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's kind of irrational to just... Because the more you worry and the more you get nervous, you will play badly and you will fulfill the cycle of being nervous. You'll validate your nerves in the first place.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, it's a bit of a psychological battle with yourself. I mean, you feel the pressure.
Yeah, I can imagine. And what would your advice be to perhaps drummers that maybe do suffer with their nerves a little bit, that do get a bit of stage fright? What would your advice be?
Drink whiskey. I don't know. I mean, yeah, all I can say is that I'm sure there were times, you know, in my younger years when I was standing on the side of the stage feeling really nervous. And then you go on and you fluff a few things and you
Call it jazz.
yeah, the first thing you notice that you can't play any ghost notes because your left hand's just like, you know, locked up. And then once you've done that 20, 30, 40 times, it slowly wears off.
Yes.
Much like public talking, like the first time you walk out on stage and pick up a mic, God, does my voice sound like that going through a microphone?
Yeah.
It sounds horrible and really off-putting. But once you've done a lot of it, that doesn't faze you anymore, the sound of your voice coming through a mic.
Yeah, no, I absolutely understand. Talking about those challenges that you may have overcome from when you jokingly tell us that you played in front of one person who was extremely drunk demanding Beatles, to overcoming fears like being on stage and things like that. What's the most challenging thing for you as a drummer that you have had to personally overcome when sort of being behind the kit? That could be from a live show experience going wrong, or that might be, I don't know, when you've had to deal with something personal that's impacted your playing.
Yeah, I mean, a very common thing that can happen on stage is something goes wrong. You drop a stick, the snare drum head breaks, the hi-hat clutch goes down. Or you play a mistake, you go to the wrong section at the wrong time, is to try to recover quickly so you don't spend the next 6 songs absolutely mortified that you made a terrible mistake.
Yes.
So we used to talk about this in Porcupine Tree because, everyone at some point makes a mistake during their performance, forget the words or play a wrong note, or, you fluff a drum fill or something. What you've got to remember is that 99% of the audience didn't even notice.
Yes.
And then you spend the whole next half an hour with a grisly look on your face, livid with yourself that you messed something up that probably no one noticed.
Yeah.
And it probably won't be anywhere as bad as what you think.
Yes.
The last time I played in London with the Pineapple Thief, we play a lot of odd time signatures, and we were recording the show. We'd recorded quite a few shows actually, and it was going really well. And I thought, oh, this is the live album. This is it. I've got it. And we play a song that jumps from 7 to 6 quite a lot.
Right.
And I'm playing in 7, and I went to the part in 6, 4 bars too early. And when I went to it, I immediately realised, but I couldn't figure out where the 1 had gone in 7.
Right.
And I stopped playing for what felt like about 10 minutes. It was probably 1.5 seconds.
Right.
And I thought it was absolute flipping Titanic crashing into an iceberg moment.
Yes.
But when I watched it later, I had a GoPro set up over the back here, and I thought, oh my God, didn't even notice it.
Really?
It really got away with it very easily. To me, it felt like a really bad moment. And then I spent the next 30 or 40 seconds thinking, oh, you idiot. But I've got to recover and carry on. And otherwise you'll start making more mistakes because you're still thinking about the last one.
Yes.
So that's a thing you need to sort of come to deal with. And when you're under pressure, everything will feel like it's too slow.
Yes.
And if you're playing to a click or something, you'll press play on the click and you think, oh, I've got the wrong song. That's miles too slow. Oh, no, it is the right song. Yeah. Oh, my God. So that shows you how wound up you might feel. It's normally the first 3 or 4, well, maybe first 2 or 3 nights of a new tour where you're playing a lot of songs you haven't played before, that before the sort of the pressure kind of eases. Then once that's gone, maybe by night 4, 5 and 6, you've reached this nice plateau where you feel comfortable and relaxed. You've got past the bit of just trying to get through to the end of the song without making a mistake.
Yes.
But then you can finally relax and enjoy the show.
And with your kind of live setup, obviously we can see here that you've got sheet music over here. A couple of questions. Firstly, do you have your sheet music with you when you're live on tour? So if you were to make a mistake, it would be something to make reference to very quickly. And in that, do you think that sight reading is important for aspiring drummers?
Oh, I think sight reading is a very useful thing. Even if you're not a great sight reader, the ability to read, transcribe, write out a chart and be able to play it without making a mistake is really invaluable. Apart from which, there's a million drum books out there and a million things come up online. You think, oh, what does that sound like? Now, if you know how to read, you can actually sit and play it. And I write a lot of things. Sometimes when I'm improvising, I might play something that I like, and then I'll write it out, and then I'll write out maybe 10 or 12 variations of that, and in different time signatures, different subdivisions, and develop the idea a bit.
Yeah.
I don't have charts on stage.
No.
Just because it doesn't look very cool. And also, if you start the tour with charts on stage, and I have done it, I have even had them in the lid of a snare drum case on the floor with a little light, it becomes a crutch that you can't do the show without looking at the chart.
Yes. Yeah.
So with more complicated music like King Crimson,
Yes.
I did write out charts, but King Crimson used to rehearse a lot. So during the maybe 2 or 3 weeks rehearsal, after halfway through the rehearsals, I'd start thinking, I'll try not to look. I'll only look at the chart occasionally. Oh yeah, just to remind myself what's coming next.
Yes.
And then I will maybe have a slight glance at it. And then next day I might think, let's see if I can get through it without looking at it. And I kind of remembered what it looks like. And then eventually it just goes in.
Yeah.
And the bizarre thing is, with King Crimson, maybe we'd take 9 months off and we'd start again. When I looked at the charts again, it looked really abstract and foreign to me.
Right.
Because I'd internalised it. And when I internalise it, it's not in a sort of photographic, looking at the chart kind of way. It's in a much more natural, organic way. I hear the music in a sort of flowing river.
Yes.
And then looking at the chart again looks very weird to me.
And having worked with King Crimson, I mean, that's crazy. That's such a great gig. How did that feel to be asked to do that?
Oh, great. I mean, I met Robert Fripp. Robert Fripp used to open for Porcupine Tree.
Yeah.
In 2006, 2007. I think he did about 50 shows with us.
Sure.
And so he got to see us a lot and we got to know him. And then one day he said, look, I'm thinking of putting the band back together in time for a 40th anniversary tour, which would have been 2009. So I want to do a little tour in 2008. You and Pat Mastelotto, double drumming, and Adrian Ballou and Tony Levin.
Yeah.
And so that was great. We did 7 weeks rehearsal and 11 shows.
Yep.
But it was all in preparation for a 40th anniversary tour in 2009, which didn't happen. But then Robert put the band back together again in 2013, but this time with 3 drummers. So yeah, I mean, it's amazing music to play, and he gives you all the freedom you want. Just play what you want.
Do you ever kind of just sit and think about your life and think, this is crazy that I've got to do this. I've got to do what I want for a job for decades. And you're cited as one of the best living drummers on the planet. I mean, do you ever kind of think, wow, that's amazing?
No.
Do you not?
No, I don't have an external view of myself.
Okay.
I've had people ask me at drum clinics, oh, what's it like being you?
Yeah.
It's like, such a...
How do you answer that?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
What he means is, what's it like being you, but from his perspective? Because he's projecting onto you,
Yes.
you're this, that, or the other.
Yes.
but it's kind of surreal. Yeah, because I've always done this, I didn't sort of work in an office for 20 years and then break out and do the drumming and think, so this is so much better than working in an office. It's, I don't know, it's just what I do. So I don't really think of it like that from an external,
Perspective.
like looking at yourself, an out of body experience of what's it like.
What do you think you would be doing if the drums didn't happen? Where is the kind of parallel universe, Gavin Harrison? What's he doing?
Pole vaulting over neighbours' fences. I don't know. As I said, I've got to recognise over the many years that some things tickle my mind. Myself and Hannah, we went to Bletchley Park last year to the Code Breakers, but with the whole Alan Turing and the Enigma machine, and I absolutely loved it. And Hannah said to me, "This would have been you, wouldn't it, if you were here in the 1940s?" I said, "I would love to have done that. That would really excite me."
Would have interested you.
Yeah, I mean, just some things interest you and some things others don't interest you. You might be really interested in football, or I actually am not remotely interested in football.
No.
I'm very interested in Formula One.
Right.
And probably part of that is the fascination with the equipment and the technology, together with the pure animalistic racing, fighting element to it.
Yes.
That just tickles my mind. I suppose it all comes down to your personality and your preferences, and that's why you play the drums the way you play the drums, because of your personality and all the things that you've preferred in your whole life, be it the type of pizza you like, or the sort of architecture that tickles your fancy, or the sort of car design or yachts or whatever you're in, or watches or whatever you're into. You'll sort of think, "Oh, I really like that.
Yeah.
I don't like these ones, but there's something about this I really like." And I suppose over the years that becomes your sense of taste, your sense of what is classy and elegant and beautiful. And in some way, you apply that to your drumming, that your sense of taste and your decision is based upon things that you've heard in the past and you've thought, "Oh, that's so good. I wish I thought of that." And then when you play something and you think, "Oh, that was really good. That's a bit like that thing I heard 30 years ago that I loved." And those preferences lead you down your path into what you do. So what would I be doing otherwise? Yeah, probably something based upon any of the things that have tickled me, in the last decades.
That's cool. That's really cool. Bringing things back to the present day, and obviously once again playing the main stage of the UK Drum Show, what do you think you're going to be bringing to the table or the stage that perhaps other drummers might not be doing, or that maybe they haven't thought of? For example, on last year's podcast, Nick Collins was talking about the fact that he was going to do a Q&A and make it interactive. Jay Poststones from Tesseract spoke about talking about metric modulation. Chris Coleman said it would be just a miracle if he turned up. But taking those kind of quotes and sites into consideration, what do you think you're going to bring to the table this year that could be different from the rest?
Well, yeah, I mean, one thing I'm definitely going to bring this year that no one else will have is this drum kit.
Wow.
So
that is cool.
That's a nice thing, whenever I get to do an event like this in the UK, you can actually bring your own kit from home with all your favourite bits and bobs. When I've done I've done drum festivals abroad, of course, I've had to get there early, and Sona will send me a great set, exactly as I want, but there's nothing quite like your own pair of slippers.
Yes, yeah.
You know what I mean? To feel comfortable.
Yes.
It just looks right, everything's in the right place, everything will be exactly as I want it. I haven't really decided what to do. I'm kind of worried that doing a Q&A in such a large room might be very time consuming. You know, a lot of times when you do a drum clinic, you say, "Hey, has anyone got a question?" Nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll play another song then.
Yeah.
Or you need to make sure that there's a mic in the audience and that people can come and ask. You know, and some questions are kind of interesting, and some questions are just, you know, like
What's it like being Gavin
Yeah.
Gavin Harrison, right?
what sticks you use, you
Yeah.
know, it's like, or a very sort of philosophical question that could lead to perhaps a more extended and interesting answer. Some people just kind of say, "What was that fill you played in the middle of, you know, Fear of a Blank Planet?" And you know, okay, I could demo that if you really want to see it. But I don't know. I guess I'll have enough music to play, you know, from all sorts of bands I've been in and tracks that I've already got that I
Yeah.
could play to, and that people might find interesting. I mean, I haven't actually done a drum festival since 2016.
Wow. It's a really long time since you've done one.
Yeah,
It makes it more exciting for you, right?
yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
think it'd be cool.
Yeah, I did a lot in the sort of from about mid 2000s to 2016. I did a lot. I must have done, I don't know, 400 drum clinics
Wow.
and master classes.
Wow.
I think I played every drum festival, virtually every drum festival in the world. And then I thought, I just want to give it a rest.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was burnt out doing those.
Yes. Yeah.
And maybe now's a good time, and especially with the UK Drum Festival. I haven't been to the Liverpool venue, but I hear it's amazing.
I mean, there's for everyone going or anyone, you know, considering buying tickets. You've got the downstairs, which is the exhibition kind of hall, and you've got
Right.
all the drums and cymbals, percussion, sticks, everything you can imagine. And then upstairs, you've got lots of little rooms going from capacities of 50 people right up to 400, so they're quite intimate. But then you've got the auditorium where you're going to be, which is a couple of thousand seats. It's enormous, and it's just a wonderful weekend of drums. And the ACC Liverpool really is the perfect venue for it.
Great.
It's really cool.
I think the last time I did it, it was at Olympia.
Right, yes.
Right,
Yeah.
it might have been about 2011, 2012.
Yes, so I think you'll absolutely have a really good time. I guess my final question for you is, I know we spoke about discussing advice for drummers that perhaps might suffer with their nerves a little bit, but in a very kind of musically turbulent 21st century, where everything in the music industry is constantly changing, constantly evolving. Since you've become famous, you know, you've had the introduction of the internet, and that's blown up, and social media getting musicians famous. What would your advice be to not necessarily just drummers, but for musicians in general that, you know, we're struggling to get their voices heard in amongst a very overcrowded music industry?
Do your videos naked. You know.
I did that. I lost followers.
Oh, there you go. I mean, I'm not really a sort of habitual poster. So I do have Instagram and Facebook. I rarely post other than when I'm on tour. I've thought about this, you know, when I was a kid, of course, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have YouTube. I mean, VHS didn't come along till I was about 15.
Right, okay.
Right? So the only chance you had to see any drummer play was if you were lucky, if they were on TV and the director put the camera on the drummer. But mostly it was to go and see people play live.
Yes.
And so I saw a lot of drummers play live. Some I was lucky enough to, you know, in a session, or if my dad was playing in the band, I could sit next to the drummer. They were very encouraging, very helpful. And I wonder if YouTube had have existed back then, if it would have, what effect it would have had on me. I think it would have scared me how far behind I was.
Right.
I really wasn't a child prodigy. I wasn't some whiz kid genius. I can see kids on the internet now who are 10 years old run rings round me.
Right.
Compared to what I was like when I was 10, I might have found it a bit discouraging. So I think the advice is to run your own race.
Yeah.
run your own race. You're only in competition with yourself. You know how good you played or what mistakes you made. Comparing yourself to other people, well, it's going to give you a lot of anxiety. I mean, a small opportunity like that happened when I was 13. I went to the National Youth Jazz Orchestra rehearsal, and I sat behind a kid who was 2 years older than me, called Graham Ward, and he was 100 times better than me in every way.
Right.
But I hadn't seen a young drummer, in this area that I grew up. I hadn't seen some whiz kid young drummer.
Yeah.
Everyone was telling me at school and locally I was the whiz kid drummer.
Okay.
Right, until I found some kid who was so much better than me. And I sat behind him, with my chin on the floor. It was a really rude awakening. I think that probably had a quite worrying effect on me, that I went away and thought, oh God, I thought I was all right, but no, I was way behind,
Right.
in comparison to him. But, I kind of developed later in life. I think the period that I really got a lot better was from when I was about 25, maybe 24 to 30. I really got serious about practicing, because I felt like I hadn't done enough when I was a kid. And I rented a rehearsal room, and I went down there and did 6 hours practice every day.
Wow. Okay.
For quite a few years, mainly driven out of guilt, and some of it driven out of the bug to practice and feeling like I was improving. But I did reach a point, maybe I was about 23, 24, I thought, I've never done that sort of 6, 8 hours a day practice that I imagine some other drummers have done. So when I wasn't working, I thought, well, rather than just sit there, watching daytime TV, lying on the couch, why don't you do something about it? So I think that was quite a pivotal moment, in that it was quite hard to do it at first, but actually once I got down to the rehearsal room and started practicing, the day kind of flew by.
Amazing.
And then I would go home at night and I'd listen to the recordings I'd made, and then decide what I was going to practice the next day.
Yeah.
So it really was very, very, very intense, concentrated practice. And luckily, in those days, I didn't have a mobile phone. There was no Wi-Fi or internet even then. This was late 80s. And I was locked in a building on my own. No one knocked on the door. It really was absolutely without distraction.
Yeah.
Now I'm sitting here practicing my drums. I've got my computer over here.
Yeah.
Ding, messages are coming in left, right and centre. And it's not long before you think, all right, I'll take my headphones off and go and have a look.
Yeah.
And then 2 hours go by as
Yes.
you're looking around YouTube, and you're totally distracted. As long as there's a computer open in the room or your mobile phone, you'll feel tempted during a practice session to think, well, I'll just have a quick look at, look at this, and you're away. So kind of in a way, I was lucky that because of the time that I did it, and with the discipline that I did it with, those distractions were not there at all, even if I wanted them.
So I suppose from your own journey through drums, perhaps part of your advice in what you're saying to the younger generation would be, try to stay focused. Don't get distracted by social media if you can help it.
Yeah, I don't think... Social media doesn't make me happy. It just makes me anxious.
Yes.
It just makes me... I obviously I use social media, to announce events that I'm doing, or albums I've played on, or tours, upcoming tours. But I try not to spend too much time on it, because I can feel how you're getting sucked into it. It's very, very addictive. And if you make a post, then you want to go and read the comments, and you want to see how many likes you got. And you're going to, get that kind of reward, or fake reward, by doing things on social media that you think are going to, I don't know what you think they're going to do for you, or what it's going to mean in the end. The better way is just turn it off and do some practice.
Amazing. Gavin, thank you so much. He will be playing the main stage of the UK Drum Show on Saturday, the 18th of October at the ACC Liverpool. I'm a huge fan of yours, so this is a huge fanboy moment for me to even be welcomed into your home and to sit right next to your legendary drum kit. So yeah, thank you for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
And on behalf of quite a lot of people, can you just do one more Porcupine Tree album, please? Just one. We want one more.
Okay.
And a tour.
All right.
Text Steve now, let's go. Right.
All right. Thanks.